As some of you have probably noticed, I mostly play solo these days. The majority of my friends have moved on from the game, and playing in pubs is a crapshoot. Either you're kicked because you're max level, or you got people running god-awful game-changing mods that they think fix the game, or you run into elitists that have to scrutinize every weapon, skill, action, whatever it may be. Pubs have the capacity to be very cancerous. Regardless of the reason, though, playing with AI is not actually that bad, and in most cases they can serve just as well as human players, albeit in a different way. So for today, I'm going to share what setup I run and give some input on the different skills and abilities that are available. So let's just start with the weapons they can use. They can equip assault rifles, shotguns, LMGs, and sniper rifles. Now unfortunately they can't use anything fun like flamethrowers or saws, and they also can't use akimbos or secondary weapons either. Of the weapons that were mentioned, I think that LMGs are by far the most useful, and let me show you why. Running out of ammo is not an issue for AI, and from what I've noticed, they seem to treat all weapons of the same category the same way. So for example, if I were to equip one with a Thanatos sniper and another with a Levin Sagar Y2K sniper, they'd still be used the exact same way. So for that reason, you should always shoot for the highest damage and largest capacity weapon. Now let's take a look at the AI using some of those weapon types. This one is with the DMR kit AMR-16. Assault rifles seem to be the most inconsistent. Sometimes they're really good, but other times they don't seem to hit anything. This one is with the Breaker 12 gauge shotgun. Shotguns are actually surprisingly useful. Before they weren't due to the high health enemies have, but now they're alright for taking out the trash. They're still a little bit awkward since the AI will sometimes just stare at enemies instead of shooting at them. They also tend to shoot fairly slowly as well. And this is one with a Thanatos. Snipers are probably the worst of the bunch. They seem to shoot a lot further, so you'd get a lot more use out of them for long-range maps, but overall, they're very inaccurate with them, and they don't even penetrate shields without the piercing ability. Now let's take a look at the AI while using LMGs. For whatever reason, they shoot LMGs with much more vigor than any of the other weapons. I found them to be very consistent, and they have the same efficiency as shotguns up close. However, where they really shine is that they seem to do more damage with LMGs to specials because of the continuous fire. So with 3 AI pretty much shooting the entire time with this volume of fire, you can imagine to be pretty useful in most situations. Now let's take a look at the abilities that you can use. There are only 4 available, so if you play solo, you're only missing out on one of them. From most important to least important, I'd rate Quick as the most important, Sharp-Eyed as the second most important, and Inspiring and Piercing tied for last. I've done a video before dedicated on how amazingly helpful Quick is. It's fast hands on crack. You get it for every interaction, every time, so long as you have your AI present. So that means cable tying, grabbing meds, reviving people, opening doors, fixing drills, opening safes, all of it. Just about every interaction in this game is lightning fast with this ability, making it by far the most useful thing to have. Doubly so because it's the only ability that's really helpful for stealth as well. Now for those of you that have any experience in this game, you'll know that the AI are terrible. Terrible pathing, terrible aim, terrible prioritization. In a nutshell, they cannot be relied on for anything. This leads us to our next 3 abilities. I rate Sharp-Eyed as the second most important because in terms of combat, you're generally reliant on only yourself to get things done. Sure, sometimes the AI can surprise you and take down a bunch of enemies, or a big bulldozer or something, but on average, they're about as useful as a fish trying to climb a tree. When you play solo, you have to do the equivalent of 4 people's worth of killing. Having extra ammo drops is probably almost essential in that regard. Plus, Sharp-Eyed also lets you use weapons that normally have really bad ammo pickup much more frequently without worrying about the consequences quite as much. And you don't need to pick up ammo bags or ammo skills either. Now, for the last 2 abilities, their benefit is pretty marginal. Because of their unreliable combat prowess, the benefit you get from piercing is fairly marginal. Shields are typically not super dangerous enemies to begin with, but with the AI's horrible prioritization, if a shield gets too close, they'll sometimes just shoot at it forever while making no progress at all. So this would help with that in that regard, and I imagine armor piercing also helps out with some of the other weapons that you can equip them with, like maybe assault rifles, maybe shotguns too. Now, for Inspiring, it's an amazing ability, yes, but the problem is really the cooldown. At best, AI can only inspire once every 2 minutes, and if they're already close enough to inspire you, they're probably able to pick you up normally as well. AI are tanky to the point where they don't die unless they fight a SWAT van turret or a minigun bulldozer. So, while it is nice that they have Inspire, it's not entirely necessary for them to use it. Much less so, since you're only getting it very infrequently. At least with Piercing, you're getting the effects all the time. So for those reasons, I think these abilities aren't as important as the others. They're still nice to have, yeah, but when you don't even have the ability, you don't really notice it. Depending on how I feel, I'll switch between the two, but more often than not, I'll go with Inspiring. Now for the boosts. These are much less impactful than the abilities, and I'll use them according to what kind of builds that I run. So for example, if I'm using a dodge setup, I'll use Distractor for increased dodge, something that I wouldn't use for an armor setup. Now of these boosts, there's only one here that I think is a must-have, and that's Accelerator. For the same reasons as Quick, Accelerate is amazing because you're getting a substantial boost to your reload speed for every setup that you use, regardless of your build or weapon. Other than that, what you use for your boost it's really just dependent on your build, or what you want to use. So say if you're running armor, Invigorator and Protector are a great combo. For dodge builds, Distractor and Concealer is a useful combo, doubly so if you play stealth. Stockpiler here is a surprisingly fun combat boost to have. Being able to throw grenades very consistently can help out a lot on maps where enemies can get very densely packed. And a fun one that I've been using recently is if you're using a health regen build with Hostage Taker and a perk deck like Muscle or Grinder, you can use Healer and Reinforcer for a crazy health regen setup. So this is what my current AI look like. They've all been equipped with LMGs because I find those to be the most useful. For your abilities and boosts, you'll want to put the most important stuff on the first loadout, because when humans replace the AI, they'll do so in ascending order. So if you're hosting and someone joins, they'll replace slot 3 first, then slot 2, and then finally slot 1. So with my first loadout, I have Quick and Accelerator. For my second, Sharp-Eyed and Reinforcer. And for my third, Inspiring and Healer. This is what I like to run and what I find success in using. Generally, I'll run Joker builds to synergize with the AI, so I'll have a small army of 6 really tanky friendly AI that just do their thing. I really appreciate the game for giving us these customization options for Team AI, since a lot of co-op games tend to punish those that like to play alone. Of course, it's still pretty punishing in many other ways, like map design and objectives, but at the very least it's acknowledged that this is a viable playstyle.